Okay, so hello, this is Wmpyr. I recently was asked a very interesting request, and it was from a boxer in Japan. I don't know if he's amateur or professional. I could not tell, but he sent me a bunch of sparring footage at his the gym that he goes to, and yeah, I mean, I could tell that he's obviously very serious boxer. And he was asking for, some advice using the Filipino martial arts. Basically, he was talking about dirty boxing, using Filipino dirty boxing. He wants to use it in his boxing. Um, and that was his request. Very interesting request. And so, the main topic here is using Filipino dirty boxing in actual boxing. Okay, in the world of actual boxing. And the way that I see it is, it's not so much Filipino dirty boxing. It's more like Filipino martial arts. And by Filipino martial arts, FMA, I mean Kia, Kali, Escrima, Arnis, using techniques and strategies from there into the world of boxing. So when you do that, okay, so first of all, what's the difference between Kia and Filipino dirty boxing? And the way that I see it is Filipino dirty boxing is part of Kia. It's to me, it's the empty hand skills of Kia. That's the way that I define it, really. What is Filipino dirty boxing? Where does it come from? I say it is the empty hand version of Kia, because we do stuff with sticks, we do stuff with knives, and then we do stuff with empty hand. And there you go. That's what that is. And that being said, we have to, because like I said, it comes from sticks, it comes from knives. So we have to go back to one of its greatest influencers of FMA, which is Espada y Daga, which is Spanish fencing. And when you look at that, one of the biggest principles is defang the snake. So we have to, if you really want to use FMA in the world of boxing, we got to bring that in, defang the snake. So when we bring in defang the snake to the world of boxing, what are we doing? What I want you guys to understand is when boxers are fighting, they are looking at primarily the person's center line, the core. Okay, so that there's an imaginary line that goes from, the top of the skull through, the spinal cord. So you're looking at that essentially. And when the person, depending on how they move, how they're throwing their punches, how they're attacking and all that, you're basing off of that, and you're measuring yourself and you're putting yourself in position based off of that line, that imaginary line. So the first thing you got to do is you got to shift that line, that center line, into their lead hand. Yes, their lead hand. So wherever, whether they're southpaw, if they're southpaw, it's going to be their right hand. And if they are, orthodox, it's going to be their left hand. Whatever hand that's in the front, that's now the center. That is the center. And so if the hand comes, if they throw a punch, then everything is based off of that right there. So what that does is that really changes your distance with the opponent. And it's going to keep you much further away and much safer. Why? Why is this important? Because when we go to Espada y Daga, you could imagine I have a sword, the enemy has a sword, and if we exchanged attacks that way, then we're both going to get killed or seriously injured. So the first thing you got to do is keep yourself safe. You need a way to maintain distance, and the safest way to do that is, change the center line to their hand. By doing that, it's going to keep you much safer also in the world of boxing. Now, in the world of boxing, you might go, well, if that's what you're trying to do, you're trying to keep yourself safe and not get hit, you're basically just running away and playing defense, right? if you did that in the world of boxing, and that's all you did, right? Or that's 90% of what you did in a fight, and that's how you fought, you're going to be in big trouble. Like, you're going to get warned by the refs. Your corner's going to be yelling at you. Promoter's going to hate you. Fans will be booing you. There's lots of problems with that, and you're definitely not going to win that way. But if you're keeping the center line on their arm, that means you're still throwing punches, you're throwing combos. What it looks like is you're keeping yourself safe, but at the same time, it looks like you're still fighting back. It looks like you're still fighting. It just looks like your targets are off, because they are, because instead of going for the head and the body, the targets on those areas, you're now going on their arm. So you're punching their hand, you're punching their elbow, you're punching their forearm. You're punching their arm now. And so it looks like all your stuff is off the mark, but you're still punching, you're still attacking, you're not just running away. That's what it looks like. So therefore, I think in the boxing world, this can be done, for sure. This can be done. The only problem with this is, yes, you are now safer, but this also means your attacks aren't going to land on them either. You're not able to hit their chin. You're not able to land the body shots now because you're too far away, right? So what do you do about that? Well, I think that's where we go back to, once again, fencing. Look at the way they do it in fencing. They lunge, okay? They lunge it. They're not standing square. They're making their target, their body, as small as possible. So they're on the side, and they're going to lunge. They're going to step in like crazy, explosively. And then also, because they're stepping in so much, they're doing a lunge. Their how do you call it? Their height also changes, right? So they're lower, they're smaller. I mean, it's very difficult to counter hit that. And they're accurate. They're super accurate with that. So, as a boxer, you would be like, let's say, trying to punch the guy in the eye, okay? So boom, like this. So you're going to step in like crazy. I mean, I don't care if it's like this, but boom, you do like a fencing type of stuff. So you explosively do that, but then you go back to defang the snake, where you're just hitting their arm and keeping that distance. Everything is based off of their arm. So you go back to that, and when you see the opportunity, boom, go in there, and from there you have to recover, right? Because you can't just land your attack and expect to get away so easily for free, because they're going to hit you back. So at that point, you might have to go to the clinch, okay? So that is an essential part of the strategy, the clinch. The clinch, yes, we use it in Kali, Escrima, Arnis. It's not just long range. We do have clinch stuff as well. The problem is, we are talking about blade art. So we're talking about a sword, we're talking about a knife, especially the knife. In the clinch, that's what's going to come in. So we have to jam the knife. You can't just clinch. You have to do something about that knife. But anyway, going into the clinch, this is a boxing strategy, so it should work. Because in boxing, if you're taking too much of a hit, this is not ideal. It means that you're doing bad, you're doing terrible. You clinch the person, you hold on, and you basically make it to where they can't punch you. Okay, so it is a legitimate tactic. We're going to be doing the same thing. And also, if you look at boxing, watch, some people train in actual boxing, see the way they spar. They go in there, and getting hit is like, it's almost like I hear this for self-defense against the knife, which is, if they have a knife, you're going to get cut. I hate that. I hate that. You cannot get cut. So I'm one of those. I hate people parroting that, and they act like you're going to get cut. Like in boxing, you're going to get hit. They say that, right? And I see boxers go in there and they're training, and they're taking tons of hits to the body, to the head. So they're getting, on a daily basis in their normal training, they're getting organ damage. They're getting all kinds of micro damage. And I hate that, right? The sweet science of boxing is to hit the opponent while you don't get hit. This works also for the knife. So we need to box smart. We need to do self-defense smart. So the dumb way is to go in there thinking, hey, it's a knife, I'm going to get cut. I cannot accept that. Now the reality is, I understand why they say it, because the probability of you getting cut or even nicked is very high. So in that sense, I agree. But if you just quote that and you don't specify what that really means, it just sounds like it's okay to get cut, and it's not. It is not okay to get cut. So we got to do everything we can not to get cut, even though it's a high chance that you will get cut. So you got to say all of that, and don't just say in a knife fight you're going to get cut. Gosh, I hate that. All right. So anyway, same thing in boxing here. Don't want to get hit. Period. I don't want to get punched. Okay. So what we're doing here in the clinch is we got to jam the arm. All right. So what I'm seeing in a lot of boxing training is they attack and you're throwing combos, but guess what? They're throwing combos back. Ideally is you're ducking, you're bobbing and weaving, and you're hitting them back, and your stuff's landing and their stuff's not, right? Or you parry and you counter them. Those are all ideal and great, but we can't always do that. So when you can't do that, then you have to block, right? Because if not, you're gonna take the hit. So they have to block. Blocking is essential, critical in boxing. We cannot block in Filipino martial arts, because if you block against the blade, you block with a blade against a knife. That knife is stabbing into your arm. Okay. Now, if you have a sword and they're coming at you with a sword, you could block, yes, using the sword or the side. Don't use the edge, but using the sword, you can block their sword attack. Yes, but we're talking about the clinch. So once we go into the clinch, the knife is coming in, right? So in that case, the blocking has to be done to jam their arm. Okay, so we're blocking onto their arm. It's not they throw an attack and I block it. That's, like I said, we can't do that. Filipino martial arts logic. That is not possible. So what we're doing here is I'm using my shield and jamming it onto their arm to stop, and then I clinch them. Okay, so once you do that and you're in the clinch, you're going to have small opportunities to land small hooks, small uppercuts, small shots in the clinch, and then they break you off. So we want to take advantage of that, right? And when we take advantage of that, that's where some boxers will use their shoulder. As they go into the clinch, they headbutt you. Another one is they make it look like it's a hook, but then here's an elbow, right? And that's all been shown. What I'm saying for FMA, I think because we're a blade art, use the blade of your arm, which is the forearm. Not the elbow, but actually the forearm. And this took me a while to discover this, that, because I was taught from dirty boxing and stuff, it's the elbow. But I'm telling you guys, it's actually, for me, it's become more the forearm. The forearm is our natural blade. So I would use the forearm, so you're throwing in the small punches, but the forearm might come in. And yes, that's dirty. And very, very, we're playing with the rules here, but that's what I would go for, is sneaking in that with the punch, a bonus forearm hit. Not an elbow, but a small forearm hit. And if you're hitting with the forearm, now we can cut. So you can, if this is a person's face, you can scrape. You can scrape this way, you can scrape that way, you can cut this way, cut that way. So those are the types of movements I would start putting in. So anyway, that's it for now. That's using Filipino martial arts, Kia, from the Filipino martial arts, using Kia in the world of boxing. So that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.